Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. I am going to do something tonight that I have never, ever done in all the years that I have been doing podcasts, and I've been doing them since like 2011. I'm going to take you right back to one of the very first ones I did. I have never done this. So welcome to the Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1154. What can hummingbirds teach us? And I just realized I think I spelled that wrong. What did I put there? What hummingbirds can teach us. Now, I was trying to think of a topic for tonight, and I was thinking, we could do vacation, we can go, and we are going to touch on that, but in a very different way. I was actually looking for a blog I had written probably about 8 years ago. And I thought, that'd be a good one because it just had some steps in it. And I thought, those steps are still relevant. We'll update them, we'll do them. That's not a problem. And I came across this script that I had done for one of my very first podcasts. In fact, I think it might have actually been my very first podcast. But this is from 2011. I kid you not. That's when I did my very first podcast. In fact, this one is dated the 5th of April 2011. And that was around the time I did one of my very first podcasts. So I looked at it and I thought, I am not going to touch a word in this blog that I actually did end up reading on the air back in April of 2011. I thought, I'm just going to read it as it is because I just want your thoughts on this because I think it is still. I had a quick look through it and I thought, I could update it and put some more facts and figures in there and all that. And I'm like, no, we are going to have a nostalgic night looking at a different way of why you should take vacation. So excuse any of the grammar errors, any of the you can't see the spelling errors. Excuse any of the sentence structures. This was written back in 2011, so we're talking 11 years ago. So I thought it would be fun tonight just to read through it and see what you think. This was, like I said, back when I was first starting doing. I'm going to have to go back and have a look because I'm pretty sure it was like the very first podcast I did was called Hummingbirds. So I'm going to be reading this. I'll try and put some life into it. I had a quick glance over and thought, I'm not going to change one word. Not one word is going to get changed in this, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So here we go. This one was Hummingbirds from April of 2011 from one of my very first, if not the first, broadcast that I ever did. Yes, I have been doing these for a while. And at that stage, I was actually doing them on a weekly basis. Once a week, I would do these podcasts, and I did them on Blog Talk Radio. And as far as I know, they're still all up there as well. So if you don't believe me, you can go back and you can check out this one on Hummingbirds. Okay, so here we go from 2000. Actually, I need to lubricate the vocal cords. Oh, hang on. This good stuff. It's Singer's Soothing Throat Spray. It's non-alcoholic, it's lemon and honey. And if you do a lot of speaking or singing, this is amazing stuff. Anyway, all right. Okay, so here we go from 2011. Have you ever taken the time to just sit and watch something like a hummingbird flitting around? They seem to hover and constantly feed to keep themselves going. They dart here and there, feeding on different food sources their tiny bodies need. Do hummingbirds ever take a break? Yes, they do. They actually spend about 10 to 15% of their time feeding and 75 to 80% of their time sitting and digesting. Here in America, we work like hummingbirds, rushing here and there, trying to fit in as much as we can into our days. Unlike the hummingbird, we don't take breaks to let things sit and digest. We just keep on plowing through at a hectic pace. If we keep going at breakneck speed, if we keep going at the breakneck speed we could end up working ourselves to death. We need to take time to stop and breathe and watch nature. Not a nature lover? Maybe you should think about it then. Find a quiet place by a window with a screen and open the window. Now tell me, what do you hear? How many sounds can you name? Now take a deep breath and blow it out slowly. Do it again. Now breathe in through your nose, and what do you smell? I challenge you to try this exercise on a hotel balcony in Hawaii. Yes, this was, yeah. I have no idea where my brain was back then. My favorite time of the day is early in the morning. I love sitting on a deck or balcony, and while sitting very still, just listen and watch what is going on around me as the world wakes up. At the end of the day, I like to do the reverse, listen to the world settling down and the nightlife waking up. I especially love doing this in different towns, cities, countries, on the ocean, as each place is unique and you can learn about new sounds and sights by watching a place waken or settle down. You're probably thinking that sounds boring, and for some people it is. But if you don't find a way to relax, you could end up burning yourself out. And then where would you be? Taking time out to be aware of what is around you in nature is a great way to give yourself a mental break, and it may help lower your blood pressure. You are now better prepared to face the crisis in the office or another busy day. If you're thinking of taking a vacation from work is hard because of all the excuses like the place will fall down without me, then ask yourself this. If I keep going at the pace I'm going, I could either have a stroke, heart attack, or worse, drop dead. Would the company you work for really fall down if you took off a few days? How would they survive if you were gone permanently? Would they keep going? Are you really that valuable? Is your life really worth the heavy price tag of working all the time? Take time off. Go on vacation. Enjoy time with your family and friends. Reconnect with those closest to you, and don't work yourself into an early grave. It's not worth it. Life is meant to be lived to its fullest and enjoyed. You can't do that if you are working. Go and discover who you are and who your family and friends are. As for me, I'm all about living life and doing what I love. At the end, I want to slide in and go, wow, what a ride. I want to be remembered as one who always had a smile and a hug to share, who lived life and loved what she did. How about you? How do you want to be remembered? Someone who was always someone who was all work and no play, or someone who took time to stop, watch, and listen to the sights and sounds of nature. Try watching a hummingbird. Do you see its wings? Can you live in the moment? Or are you too busy working to watch a hummingbird and live in the moment? So that was from 2011. Like I said, my very first podcast. So yeah, I've been around a lot of years doing this stuff, and I took time off. I didn't for a couple of years, took some time off, done periodic, sometimes here and there, and all that sort of stuff. Got back into it for a bit, went away for it a bit, then got challenged in 2019 to do a Facebook Live every day for a year, and here I am 1,154 days later. You never know. Excuse me. And if you can't do that math, it's over 3 years. 3 years was on the 31st of July of this year. We are now the 27th of September. And that was 1,096 days. So, yeah, we've been doing a few. But that was written back in 2011 when I was when I was just new at full-time in travel. And I was trying to figure out, how can I talk to these people? How can I get them to connect and things like that? So it's kind of interesting to go back and see, oh my God. And like I said, I just stumbled across this tonight and I thought, I'm just going to read it. So there you go. Hummingbirds and travel. Just taking time. One of my favorite times since that article was written, one of my favorite things, it's still a favorite thing to do, is just to sit in the stillness of the day, of the morning, of the evening. And if you've been watching me for a while, then you know that my dream is to have a log cabin by a lake with a very deep porch. And I finally found a picture of what my log cabin is going to look like. It needs one slight alteration, and that is to make the porch deeper. It currently has an 8-foot wide porch on it that goes all the way around the cabin. But I actually want it to be 10 to 12 feet deep, because I want to be able to sit out there when it's storming, when it's raining and there's lightning, and look out across the lake at the mountains and watch them disappear behind storm clouds, or watch the sun come up over those mountains, because it's going to face, my cabin's going to face east. Watch that sun as it comes up over the mountains, and then in the evening, sit out there in the evening and watch the sunset on the mountains, because the sun will be behind us, and just watch the sun play on the mountains as it's setting and things like that. So and that, again, going back to nature, sitting out there first thing in the morning. Wherever we have been on vacation, when Brad and I used to take vacations together and cruises and things, he always knew where to find me first thing in the morning. If we were on a cruise ship, I was on our balcony outside, just sitting there watching the world wake up. And there were times, especially the Alaskan cruise, oh my gosh, the Alaskan cruises. A lot of times when I woke up in the morning and got up and went and sat out on the balcony, we were coming in to dock at a different port, and the stillness and the quiet. I mean, you could hear the gentle rumble of the engine, but it was a very soothing sound, and you couldn't even hear the swish, swish of the water because they were moving so slow. They were literally gliding. It felt like we were gliding. Yes, there was a little bit of wake going out from the ship, but not a lot of wake because they were going so slow as they were easing into the port. And when I was on my last Alaskan cruise in 2018, after a few months after Brad passed, I was on the port side. And so, difference to tell between port and starboard. Look at the front of the ship. Port and left have the same length of numbers. It's the easiest way. Starboard and right, they got the longest set of numbers, so they go together. But if you're facing the front of the ship, port is on the left, starboard's on the right. That's the easiest way to remember, is that port, left, four letters, both words, they go together. And I was on the port side as we were coming into, which one were we coming into? It wasn't Skagway, it was Ketchikan, coming into Ketchikan. And there was this island across the way, and I'm watching. These houses are just sitting on this island up there. They've got their little jetties down the front there, and I was just sitting there, and there was log cabins up there, and I was like, my dream, log cabins, water. Water is so soothing and so comforting. Even though for years I had a fear of being in deep bodies of water because I had a near drowning accident when I was in school, during a school swimming sport. So I was in the middle of a race and suddenly couldn't breathe. So I went to put my feet down, and I had just learned to swim. I did not know how to tread water at that time, and started sinking and panicking. One of the teachers had to dive in and pull me out, and wasn't really too comfortable around bodies of water. It took a long time. I mean, we even went on the Queen Mary in Long Beach one night. Brad and I stayed there one night, and we're doing the tour around the ship, and we got down to the area where you could go and see the propeller. I just thought, like, did it and walk out of the room. I could not look at that big propeller under the water with the little scuba diver mannequin in under there. It was just too much for me. But it wasn't until Brad came, that Brad had cancer, that all of a sudden, all these fears I'd had, fears of needles, I still kind of have a fear of needles. I'm a lot better than I used to be. I don't pass out this time or get close to passing out. I'm actually able to stay awake, but I can't watch them put the needle in. I watched every needle that went into Brad. Every port access, every PICC line that was put into him, every IV that was put into him, I watched every single one. Before he had cancer, I couldn't even look at a needle. The funny thing was, the doctor's office that we used to go to in Virginia, they would make the men lay down to take their blood, and the women were allowed to sit up. And I said, no. I said, with Brad and I, it's the other way around. He will sit up, I have to lay down. He will stay sitting up, I will almost pass out on you. We were complete opposites, but as soon as he got cancer, it was like everything went away. But and so we're on these beautiful ships, and we're out there on the balconies, just watching it, just gliding by on the water, and it was just so peaceful and so serene. And my favorite parts were going up the fjords, to see the glaciers at the end of the fjords, and you're just gliding along that water, and there's just these majestic sheer cliffs on either side, and you going up and you start seeing the ice floats coming down from the carving from the glaciers and things, and it's so magical. I love cruise ships. And when we got to cruise in Europe, it was a little different because we didn't have a balcony. We had a sliding door we could open, but it's what they call, I think, a French balcony, and they just had the railing right there, so you couldn't step out, but you could have the door open. And we're in December, so it's like freezing cold outside. Um, and I'm opening up the door and hanging out and going, "Oh, where are we gliding to today?" But one of the most magical moments on the river cruise was they allowed us to go up in groups up to the bridge and sit up there with the captain, and we're groups of like five to six people at a time would go up there, and I have to tell you that was very surreal. We're on the Danube River and we're heading towards Hungary, and Budapest was our final destination, and we're just up there, and he had a bench at the back there, and Brad, for whatever reason, didn't come up to the, don't remember why he never came up to the bridge, but we're up there, and the captain's standing there, and he's just watching things, making little adjustments here and there with his little joystick, and it was so quiet, and we had a 360-degree view, and we see this bridge coming up in the distance. The captain's just standing, and we every now and again would ask him a question, and he'd give us this answer, and he just stood there and did his job, and he was happy for us just to sit there and watch. And we were the last group to go up, so we got to stay up there for quite a bit. And then he just reached across and he presses this button, and all of a sudden we're hearing bark, 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 and the bridge, the whole bridge piece starts going, lowers down into the boat, into the river boat, and we're like, what the heck? And we were lowering the bridge so we could go under the bridge. So we're lowering the bridge of the water, and it's going bark, bark, bark the whole time as we're lowering down, and we had about this much view space as we're going underneath a bridge. And we stayed like that for the next 3 bridges before, and then he just quietly reaches over. He doesn't even tell us any of this. He just reaches over and goes bark, 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 and we start going back up again. But that was really, and then we came up to these locks, and because on the Danube River you have a lot of locks to help with the different levels of the water and everything else, and so he passed the controls over to one of his guys who was standing out there on the side, and the guy's just standing there looking over the side of this riverboat with his little joystick, and he's making his slight of movements because he has to get I can't remember if this was this was a single wide one. So the river boats in Europe are a certain length and a certain width, and they can't go beyond those measurements, and they also can be a certain height as well, because they have to be able to fit under the bridges. But when they go into the locks, you literally have like about this much space on either side of the boat if you're going into the locks. And I've got video of us, as well as photographs of us standing there outside on the bow of the riverboat, and here's the wall. Here's the edge of the boat, and here's the wall. There was like maybe 6 inches on either side. It was really, really close. And so we watched him steer us into the locks. Because we had the 360-degree view, we were able to turn around and we watched the gates close behind us. And then the water emptied out, and we were watching us, and we had this great view of the whole boat just slowly sinking down as the water was drained out. And then we watched these gates open up in front of us, and we just glided on out and down the river. And we actually stayed up there through 2 locks. So we went under like 3 bridges and through 2 locks. We were up there for about an hour. It was just magical because it was so still and so quiet, and you're listening for sounds and you're being in that moment. I didn't even think I didn't take any pictures up there at all. I was just enjoying being in the moment, and it was just magical. And when you can get in places like that where you can just sit and just be in the moment, and just let your ears, just listen with the ears, use your ears and your nose, and you can even just close your eyes and see how many sounds you can identify, or taking the deep breaths, what smells are around you, especially if you're in gardens and anything else. And if you're a gardener and you know your flowers and your plants and things, how many flowers and plants can you identify just by the smell? Probably by the look. You can identify, if you're big into gardening and trees and flowers and all of that, you could probably tell by looking what plants are what and everything else. But if you were to close your eyes and just taken deep breaths so you get the aroma from the gardens? Are you able to identify the flowers and the trees and things just by their scents? Think about that. And you're just being in the moment. And there's jets going right now. I can hear the jets over the AC unit. That's the problem with being inside the RV at this time of the year. The AC units are on constantly 24/7. It's during the day, it's both. At night, it's one of them. But I love it when we can when the temperature gets cool enough and we can turn the ACs off, and then you get to hear a lot of different sounds for the life of the life around the RV resort. Because at that time of the year, everybody's in town. All the snowbirds have come in fact, they've been flocking in lately. Since Labor Weekend, we've had big population increase in here. And every day when we go out for our walk, there's new RVs in, there's new houses there's park models that have opened back up again, where people have come in from wherever they're from, and come and opened up for the winter season and things like that. And I said to one of the permanent residents here, I said, this has started a lot earlier than last year did. Because I said it wasn't until we got to like the second and third week in October that we started to see a lot of people coming in. I said, there's more people in now than there was at that point. And she's like, yeah. So people are coming in earlier this year for whatever reason. But take time out of your day to just go and sit somewhere and just listen to the sounds around you. If you can get out in the middle of nature, I think nature is the best medicine for everybody. Is just to get away from everything. Turn the phones off, or silence the phones, and just go and sit and listen to the sounds. Close your eyes and just take in deep breaths through your nose. And what aromas can you smell? Is somebody cooking? Like, we go out walking at night and you can, somebody's having a roast tonight for dinner, or somebody's out cooking on their barbecue, because you can smell the hot dogs, or you can smell the steak that they're cooking. If you go out walking in the morning, some people will be out at their grilling their bacon for breakfast. It's like, seriously. But when the park gets full and we're out walking in the evening, there are so many good food smells. It's sort of like, I feel like going and knocking on people's door and they're doing a progressive dinner around the resort, just because of the smells coming out of the houses with these beautiful cookings and baking. And we get fresh baking. I've smelled pies being baked and cakes and cookies. And but I especially love the meat. When I smell the roasts, or you smell the roasts, the bacon, the sausages, the steaks, just the grill's been lit up. It's amazing how many smells you can identify as you're walking around a resort at dinner time. But take time out. So that's it from me for today. If you are interested and you want to get on this vacation trip, you want to do your Before the Dirt Nap adventures and things like that, the top 3 links in the description down below. And then we've got questions like, what are the destinations that are on your lists? Do you have an adventure board or album where you've got pictures of places you want to go to? And if you want to book a planning call with us, go to havetoconnect.com. If you want to be the first to know about the Before the Dirt Nap Adventures Once in a Lifetime Adventures coming out, go to Before the Dirt Nap Adventures. Or if you want to get a book that's really good with ideas of different Before the Dirt Nap adventures you can do, there's a link there for that book as well. And it's a really cool book. I think it's got over 1,000 different things. And it's not the 1,000 things to see and do before you die. No, it is not that book. It is completely different from that one. But think about the life of a hummingbird. And especially in this park, hummingbirds were always Brad's favorite bird. And he always wanted to put up a hummingbird feeder, but we never got around to doing that. Wherever we go, he wanted to put up hummingbird feeders. We never got around to doing that. But there's a lot of hummingbirds around here, and I'm not putting up a hummingbird feeder here because there are so many feeders around. But whenever we go out for a walk, some walks I will do, though, I won't see one hummingbird anywhere. Other ones will come around, and some of them will dive bomb us and go sit up on a post. And to me, that's Brad coming and saying, hi, how you doing? So I just look up and go, hey, sweet pea, how you doing? And we carry on walking. And we have had hummingbirds follow us around a little bit as well. So I know that Brad's with us and he's appearing to us as hummingbirds. So hummingbirds have a very special place. They're fascinating creatures. To think that they only spend 10 to 15% of their day feeding, and the other 75, hang on, what was that? What were those numbers again? I can't do math because they actually spend 10 to 15% of their time feeding and 75 to 80% of their time sitting and digesting. I'm like, okay, so the rest of the time they're just flying around if you're doing the math on that one. But I hope you enjoyed listening to that script I wrote back in 2011 for my very first podcast. That was done in April of 2011. So that's it from me for tonight. Go have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Think about taking a break. Think about places that you want to go to, things that will fill your soul. If you're a person who loves nature, what nature places do you want to go to around the world? If you're somebody who needs a lot of activity, what sort of activities do you want to go and visit? There's all sorts of things you can do. I'm not even going to go into the list now because we'll be here for another 30 minutes. But anyway, I have a puppy that wants to go for a WALK, so we're going to go do that. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Please let us know in the comments below what you thought of my script from 2011. I'll be curious to see what you thought of that. So anyway, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at... Oh, am I going to be on at 6 tomorrow? Hang on. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yes, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Happy Gonera.